Welcome back to Look at It This Way. Today I am here with another Fly on the Wall member, my big bro, brainy builder, ballet b-boy boogeyman, Nathan Griswold. Hi, Nathan.
I thought we were always avoiding alliteration.
No,
Where did
we
that come
are.
from?
Yeah, we laid on.
Wow. Do you have that written down?
Yes, it's written down.
Can you do it one more time, please?
Awful. Okay, it's my big bro, brainy builder, ballet b-boy boogeyman.
Okay, all right. Now, boogeyman like dance or boogeyman like scary?
I think boogeyman dance.
Okay.
I thought that'd be the only one you'd be like, what's going on there?
I do like to scare. So Kelly Jane, my partner, wife, Kelly Jane, she likes to watch. She always wants to watch a scary movie,
Hmm.
but I just can't help myself from like scaring her afterwards. She's all
Yeah.
keyed up. Uh,
Okay, so it
and
does.
I don't know what that is. I get that little like
Yeah.
demon inside me. I just can't help myself.
Well, my brother used to cry and then say he would have like, my parents would be nervous I would actually give him a heart attack because my scares were so good. Um, but that's neither here nor there. How are you doing? How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. Uh, my son just went down for a nap, so we should be in the clear for, at least I'm hoping for a good hour.
Yeah.
Um, how are you
Well,
doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's midday. I haven't made coffee yet, but I feel good. I think you're energizing enough. Uh,
Oh,
well, we'll see.
good. Yeah.
Let's start at your beginning. So what you started, did you start with ballet when you were young?
Yeah. I started ballet. So I was like 13. And my aunt was an actress and coach in Tacoma, Washington, and she had I don't know how this happened. She had made a friend with a lady who had a ballet school, and ballet schools are always looking for guys.
Hmm.
And yeah, they uh coerced me into coming and taking a class, and I kind of liked it and kind of stuck around, and I kind of started doing it more like, like a couple once or twice a week when I was 14, and then yeah, it happened pretty quickly.
And then when did you start adding new forms? Like I know you do like some b-boy stuff and some like hip hop stuff. When did all that come in?
So let's see. So I did like the ballet thing. I got into I did summer programs at San Francisco Ballet and Houston Ballet, and then when I was 17, Houston Ballet Academy in Houston, they offered me a position year round, and so I went down. I moved out what it would have been my senior year in high school, and then did the 2-year program of like professional finishing school, and then 1 year as an apprentice. Um, and then let's see, I was still really bunhead then. And then Alberta Ballet. I danced in Alberta Ballet for 2 years after that. And then when I was in Alberta Ballet, I like got introduced to a lot more contemporary dance. Like
Mhm.
Crystal Pite came and did. It was when Crystal Pite was first like doing stuff. No, not first doing stuff, but she was touring with a Richard Siegel. Uh, she had this really, really wild, awesome pas de deux that she was touring around Canada. People had DVDs and video cassettes of like NDT. And up until then, it was really just like we used to bootleg video cassettes of like Carlos Acosta and Baryshnikov, and like my that's where my brain was. And like this is before YouTube, so like really that was what dance was to me, was ballet. And then like got to Alberta and I was like, oh shoot, like there's like a whole other like people are expressing themselves in a different way, and like this is, I'm feeling things and seeing things that aren't just like about, narrative, but about feelings and like abstracts and oh, I saw also like Marie Chouinard was a huge she came out with a couple of smaller pieces, really wild stuff. Um, but anyway, so that was like kind of my first real taste into like contemporary stuff in Alberta, and then going to Atlanta Ballet, and this is when like I was still very much balletically dancing, and then this was when like YouTube started kind of like video was becoming more and more present or available. And so anytime like anything else would drop, I would just eat it up online. And then the dance artist Victor Quijada, my last year at Atlanta Ballet, Victor Quijada came and set a piece. And he has a company, Rubber Band Dance in Montreal, and he was a huge I mean, he was only here for like a couple in Atlanta for a couple of weeks. So I'm not going to say use the word like influence, but but he uses a lot of b-boy. He has a really like very clear technique and understanding of how like to use like kind of hip hop and b-boy like techniques and like kind of fundamentals and bring them into like more of a contemporary dance space. Um, and that was the first time where I was like, oh, I can be using there's floor work and kind of upside down work that can be done. And you start thinking about physically, you start thinking about your spine and where your limbs are way different when you're upside down and when you're on your side than when you are vertical, which is where you spend 98% of the time when you're in ballet.
Hmm.
And you also lose the mirror because you just can't process you're not look when you're upside down, you ain't looking at the mirror. You know what I mean? Or at least I'm not. Um, uh, and then from there, let's see, um, went to Germany, danced in Augsburg and Mannheim, and then from there, like the dance community is just like so small. You know, just there's there's tons of continents and companies all just kind of crammed in, not continents, sorry, countries crammed in together. So yeah, I just saw a lot more dance theater, saw a lot more contemporary work, and that's when I really started to change, really started to kind of take the dive into contemporary. And then also, and then again, it's technology. Like we had iPhones then, and so then I was able to like take an iPhone into like a corner or into like a smaller studio and like go to YouTube and like find tutorials on how to do like windmills and how to do like floor tracking and like all these things. So it was like just, I know it's cliche to say, but you can learn how to do anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you really can learn how to do a lot on YouTube. And yeah,
Yeah.
and all this is with like, the privilege of being paid to be in a studio, through a professional company. That's I wasn't being paid to do it. I didn't have to. I did in Atlanta. I waited tables and stuff to make extra cash, but this whole time I was a contracted professional dancer, and so I was when you're not dancing, you're dancing in your free time. So, did I answer your question, or did I just go
Yeah.
off?
Yeah. I think I'm interested. I think you're right that the way B-boys even like the systems they use to approach like floor work or like you talked about the orientation of the spine, like how do you create like a whole world where it's tilted or straight up upside down is
Uh,
the part that's so useful to think about. And as I could see you when you make work bringing that into a contemporary setting. So combining both being able to operate on that ballet 98% upright scale and horizontal and all these tilts and stuff. That makes a lot of sense with how you work. Uh,
yeah, I mean, I feel like the top half of our body is like quite light and smart.
hmm
Like shoulders are a whole situation, and obviously you want to protect your neck, um, and head, but like our booty and stomach and legs are like so powerful, but yet so heavy.
hmm
Um, so like just that's a whole conversation about like how do you use like this noodly top that uh yeah, it's kind of like noodly smart top against like this kind of like powerhouse underneath. And as soon as you start like having that conversation about which one's on top, it really informs you.
Well, I wonder, I was also thinking that kind of makes sense with your interest in building and making. Uh, because thinking about like, yeah, how things are oriented, what's on top of the other. Uh, where did you get started with that kind of tradition of making?
My dad's retired military. He served in the army for 22, don't hold me to it, I think 22 years. Retired lieutenant colonel. Um, and then afterwards, he started working in construction, and he was a general contractor and he started real small, like just kind of doing odd jobs for people in the community, and then got a partner, got equipment, and then on the weekends I would go and help him do jobs.
Hmm.
So I learned basic electrician work, like really basic electrician work, really basic carpentry, um, and kind of just like the understanding of what like the materials are, like very, very rudimentary. And then I'm just always like just curious. I always just like kind of got into stuff. Um, when like my dad had a pretty full shop at home in the garage, and so I would always go um and get into trouble, like just go and play with his tools when you're not supposed to. Like just stereotypical boy, just like
Yeah.
uh shit that I shouldn't, yeah, I'm not gonna put on the internet saying what I did in the shop. Yeah.
I hear that. I wonder,
Mhm.
do you have favorite mediums you like to work with as far as like materials? Do you like, I know you talk about wood a lot. Do you like working with metals? Do you like,
Yeah, I like working with wood a lot. Work wood and basic like lighting and basic electronics. I would like to know gosh, if you know you had all the time in the world and all the concentration, which is almost more important,
hmm
which I have less of. I would love to understand like how to like do like simple circuitry and like kind of set up in my grand scheme is that I'm building wooden structures that are like also, also able to really functionally be incorporated into contemporary performance.
hmm
Um, some of that, I mean, that has come about. I mean, tile was originally the last piece,
hmm
and which you were also involved with, Nick, was using LED lights and having it originally was controlled via Wi-Fi. The problem is like, and this is always, I mean, this is just always the process, right? You know, as you make something and you go through all this labor, and then it's like, does it actually like push the thought forward or whatever you're trying to get to? And and often as not, it doesn't. And so, um, that said, I learned a shit ton, and I will continue to, be trying things. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm most comfortable with carpentry and like lighting and yeah, like this basically simple electrician stuff. Metal's tough. You need like I don't have the tools for metal. It's also expensive and heavy and kind of requires a lot of space.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you brought up tile, I was wondering when you make work, especially like contemporary dance work that incorporates these like sculptural kind of pieces, where does your idea start? Is it more in the idea of like I want to make this kind of structure and then like what kind of themes can I bring out through this? Or do you start with the themes and then think of the structure to match it? Or what is there necessarily an order? Or does it feel like it all happens at once?
Usually, for me, it's the structure first. Like I have a like right now, I just built a I just created a little lighting instrument, and it's very simple to start right now. I don't know where it's going, but it's just a groove in a 2x4, and
hmm
I've put up an LED strip inside and then encapsulated the battery into the back end of the 2x4, and so it functionally it's just a 2x4, but then you can turn it on and it's a light.
hmm
Um, so I just wanted to try it. I on if you go to like what's it uh like Etsy or Pinterest and you look up
hmm
like contemporary like lighting, not lighting. What's it like a in your dining room? What would you call that?
that hangs from the ceiling?
lamp. Yeah, a lamp.
Yeah. Oh
Just
yeah.
like like a contemporary lamp
Yeah.
or kitchen lighter. I don't know. And you know, and you see what people have made, and they've like created like there's some really interesting things where like there's lights that have been grooved inside of fairly organic looking pieces of wood, and then they do like an acrylic cover over, and so like the LEDs inset. It's really quite stunning. And so kind of riffing off of that, I was like, okay, well, what if I were to just have like kind of like a raw piece of wood and then all of a sudden like it'd be able to turn on.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about like what would that look like if you remember the game Pick Up Sticks from like
I
Pick Up
no.
Sticks? No, so like if you have a bunch of like the game Pick Up Sticks. If you imagine like having a bunch of like spaghetti long spaghetti and you know
Yeah.
like you throw it into like a pile and then like the game
Like a
is picking
marble.
up the stick without
Is
moving
there a
anything
marble in
else.
there or something?
What's
Or
that?
is there a marble in there or no?
There should be. That sounds like fun.
I think that I could be thinking something else, but you pull them
Hmm.
out, but there's some, and you have to like try not to drop something. I could be combining a few things, but
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I want to play that game.
yeah,
Um,
I could have made it up.
but anyway, like kind of like a haystack feeling
Yeah.
of two by fours, and then like you know, big reveal, it turns on. I don't know, artistically if that you know what merits the big turn. I don't know where that goes, but the building of is interesting to me, and then kind of seeing what kind of situations that can highlight. So you know, you put two people or five people or one person on stage, and then I like making movement. I love dancing. I love making movement. Uh, that always kind of comes. I feel like dancers are so like, especially nowadays, like everybody is like so self-create, like so um can create by themselves. Like everybody produces
Mhm.
their own like what's the word? Self-generative. Like you
Yes.
can really give, and especially the dancers that I've been really blessed with working with, or you know, really good at being like taking a couple tools and starting to build stuff and are really um open to input and changing and uh yeah if I'm always wish there was more time but that's another conversation but anyway so
Yeah.
like
They're
movement
like willing
is
to workshop the idea.
yeah
Mhm.
so the actual like dance movement I feel is quite fun and easy and light to make I feel
Yeah.
like um and people want to do it and it's you know and it's always like kind of a joy to get in the studio with somebody and people are looking forward to people want to they want to do it I
Yeah.
guess it's just the I want to do it they want to do it uh it's yeah and
Yeah.
then like once you have like kind of the raw movement it really is like kind of the once you have the raw movement really I mean the environment and the environment that you create and kind of the I want to say situation comedy. The situation that you put that movement into is really going to inform what the movement is saying.
Yes. I'm thinking like I don't want to say like a postmodern approach or it's like you're creating these situations to happen and then like the interpretation happens kind of you could do that after the work of making it almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that John Mayer song, slow dancing in a burning room, in a burning house, in a burning.
In a burning room. Why? I don't remember that.
Why?
Why is it that song?
Because you're slow dancing, because you're slow dancing in a burning room. I mean, what is it? I mean that.
It
So
means
you're slow
yeah.
dancing anywhere else, it would make total sense. But why the fuck would you be? Oh, can I cuss on this? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Sorry. That happens. Yeah, why would you be slow dancing in a burning room? You know, the reasons are, you know, it's illogical. So you're doing something. So it's obviously the situation that is there is illogical situation.
And also like you could have a burning room. That's interesting by itself. You could have slow dancing. That's okay
Yeah.
to put them together and now they're just like talking to each other and like spinning off on its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I
And
feel you.
John Mayer's there with the guitar, so you can't go
Yeah,
too wrong.
that's a whole, and that would be too much for me. I think just the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you don't
And
need.
yeah, and then I could probably watch that for like 5 hours, and then it's like, okay, well, nobody else is gonna watch that for 5 hours. So where do you edit, and like, how do you get there? How do you get out of there? And like that's the craft. Or
Mhm,
yeah, they're almost like two different things, right? The generation and then the craft, right?
I agree.
And I like doing both. I like making silly light things. I like making silly steps, and then I like getting artists that I really love to make, words and sounds and scores and stuff, and putting it kind of all together and seeing what sticks together.
Yeah. Which is also, I think a lot of your processes have multiple um, in poetry, like revisions. Like you show
Mhm.
different steps of the draft. You show different drafts.
Yeah.
That seems important to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, some they sit they well, yeah. In the well financed world, you do it all in like a 6 week. You go A to B or sorry, A to Z in like a 6 week span where everybody comes together and everybody's paid and everybody's concentrating and everybody makes sure that they have cream in the refrigerator and everybody works for 6 weeks and then it gets put up on stage.
Yeah.
Um, we don't we don't really float around that world too often anymore. So uh you can just smash your head against a wall if you try to do it that way. And the just kind of in the reality that we are in currently. So as with anything, like embrace that. Be like,
Hmm.
okay, well, I'm gonna make a like Briggs, Leo Briggs is a great example. Leo met Leo, and then we started making just a shit ton of movement, and then we started making this. We had like this 6 minute solo, and that solo kind of hung around for a while,
Hmm.
a long while, because that was it kind of got extended by COVID. But that solo kind of lived in a couple different ways, and then it just kept on getting like kind of changed and finessed, and then it ended up into and it was the end. Originally, it was supposed to be the end of the dance of Tile, and
Hmm.
then for some reason, like the beginning, just halfway through, was the right choice.
Yeah.
And in silence, and it originally was like supposed to be this big epic like soundscape, and
Yeah. Things change.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I think my next question is, I think I want to ask like, what are some like visual artists or visual sculptors or architects that you feel like you're in dialogue with that you're looking at? I might not know them, but I would love for them to be part of the conversation.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna uh murder names. What's his name? I do, and I'm horrible when I'm put on the spot with names. You should have told me this question before, Nick.
I'm sorry. Well, if you really,
Rothko is I just can look at Rothko paintings all day long.
yeah.
Move choreographer. I mean, Forsyth is just massive,
I see
massive,
what you
massive,
mean.
massive. Anything I can see of his. Um, James, what is his last name? I'm gonna have to look it up really fast because it's killing me. He's hugely influential on me, and I can't remember his name right now. James, James Turrell, Turrell, who I
Oh, duh. Yeah, that's you down.
a huge, 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 huge. The only time I've ever been like, uh, the only time I've ever been like, had like a jealous moment with like a celebrity who I don't really know.
Mhm.
One of the Kardashian people commissioned and got like a James Turrell in their house. I was just looking up James Turrell work, and then like the top thing was like James Turrell makes a piece for one of those people for
Yeah, I
in their
think he
house. And I was like,
worked with
motherfucker, that would be so cool.
he worked with Kanye too, I believe.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure.
Or maybe
Yeah,
that's a connection.
yeah. I think they made
Anyway,
some work together. But Yeah, James Turrell, I could see movement and that's like you making movement in those spaces so easily if they weren't already like
He's made a couple, there are a couple of collaborations I think he did in the 80s with dance.
mm,
There isn't video, or at least I haven't found video. The pictures were kind of underwhelming,
yeah, of course, yeah,
but
of
they,
course.
but I'm sure in the space, I'm sure it was outstanding. Um,
And he's always
stage,
about experiencing a space too. The way he talks about uh
yeah.
bringing you to the present of the space, I think, and like
Uh,
impacting how the body moves through an environment, I think is so I don't hear many people talking like him.
yeah, his the quote that I always murder of his is I want to create a state of wordless thought.
Mm, oof, I could say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's a good one. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
I mean,
Um,
that's not far from Rothko too. Um,
no, it's not. It's not. And it's yeah. Yeah, I
um,
don't know how that translates into live performance other than well, oh, and again I'm gonna mess up his name. I'm gonna give you another performance artist that it's the guy who did the Summer Olympics in Greece. Demetrius, is that right? Demetrius Papan, I have it right? Greek director. Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Demetrius Pap Pow now. I can't say his last
how do you
name.
spell it?
Dimitris, Dimitris space Papanyao, Paioannou. Um, I'm murdering that. I'm just gonna stop trying to say his name.
I hear
Um, but his stuff is so good, and it's just like so
you. Okay.
slow, and just lets it creates like such an environment on stage. I've never seen anything live, and that's on my bucket list. But it's just
Oh yeah, okay. I've seen this stuff before.
yeah, he has a lot of actually there's a really a good amount of his stuff online that you can find. Um, and it just lets you take the time with it. Also like Pina Bausch, of course.
Yeah, that's what I
Just
thought. Is
like
that who? Okay.
yeah, and you just have so much like um yeah, I don't have the guts for this, but just like the amount of like time and space and simplicity, but yet like obviously everything is like thought of to like the hair on your head, but like
Right.
the yeah, yeah,
No,
you can just enjoy
looking at all
and
those
kind
artists,
of
I'm
dream
like,
in it
that's
because
definitely
you're so often like kind of like stuck. You're so often like when you see dance, you kind of like fall in love with the dancer, or you like kind of like start to like throw your own like, especially like as a dancer, like when you're watching
Mhm.
dance and you're watching movement, you're kind of like it's hard to not watch movement as a movement artist. I'm
Yeah.
sure the same thing is like how do you I'm sure it's similar with poetry and written word. How do you read as how do you read as Nick and how do you read as Nick the the
Right.
writer?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that can be frustrating sometimes too, honestly.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
why, not only why did I think of this, how did they even do this?
Yeah.
How does one even start to look at these processes? So
Yeah.
um okay, I looking at all those artists together, I think like that really does collage into you. So I really do I feel that.
Yeah.
I guess one of the last questions is, I guess how has Alden affected your art practice?
Alden is 2 years and 3 months old now. Let's see. Alden has changed the way I think of like mortality a lot.
Mm,
I don't know if he's changed my art practice a lot, but if you start thinking about life in a different way, then I don't see how that doesn't have a little bit of a derivative or a little bit of a dribble down, I guess is a better way to say it.
yeah.
Um, how like I'm really guilty of like very like not really like not being very forward thinking and thinking far ahead like 5 years from now. Like I'm very much like a like kind of next week kind of guy.
Hmm.
And always have been. Um,
Which is good
in the
and
way that I think about time now that I've seen something so precious like
hmm
progress so fast. And then also how I think about like how life is so like how he's like so fragile and like
hmm
but and at the same time like so fragile and so dear and then also like having like a really understanding that like it's finite when you see him like in a way that I never like really thought about it before like oh it's just like there's going to be next week and then there'll be a next week after that and then now it's like sometimes like thinking of him dying or anything or thinking of my that's not like a I'm not thinking of it in like a morbid way or
Yeah.
um in a stressed out anxious way it's definitely like thinking about like our time and the kinds of time that we have.
Yeah.
Like this time in Knoxville has been very like kind of very it's been isolated and also really nurturing and also like really um frustrating and also like just so joyous. It's and like it's happened in like this little like thing that he's really like such a huge exclamation point in.
Yeah.
Um the way that I look about I guess yeah, my artistic process, I guess the way that I look about how like I take on projects now has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And then also like what I take on and what I say no to. Like guilty Nathan 10 years ago said yes to everything for sure. And probably even like, pre-COVID, I would say yes to everything. And then just the kind of like the moving and the forced isolation and kind of forced barriers that we all had to have. And then
hmm
with him, um, yeah, yeah. Did I answer your question? I rattled on there for a little bit. I'm sorry.
Well, when you think about how you approach your own like temporariness, like your own finitude and like others' own finitude, it does change the context of how you make work. So like yeah, even just describing your awareness of those things being more sensitive, um, it affects work, even if it's not. Well, we're talking about affecting who you are, and that
Yeah.
hopefully should show up in your work, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he explained it well.
I mean,
I'm
and the
yeah,
curiosity of kids is just
that's true too.
and also patience. Like I was always, I mean, I would like to think that I was a pretty patient person before, and now definitely a lot more patient.
Yeah.
Um, because we're working on language right now. We're looking on, how do I say I want, a
Mhm.
car, and it's like, you don't get it the first time.
Yeah.
And, somebody saying I want car, and then like that's awesome.
Yeah.
That amount of space, like the fact that you're putting to see somebody do that for the first time is wild.
Yeah, it really
To
is.
build a sentence, I mean, he's building sentences for the first time. I mean, what does that even mean? You take somebody out, like the first time I remember he was born in December, and we took him out, and it was like kind of the first walk he ever went on. There was like snow and like little like drizzle or not a little like dusting of snow out.
Mhm.
What?
Of course, yeah.
Your first walk. I mean, just saying that, like, do you remember the first time you took a walk? And it's just something that's like,
Right.
as a 41-year-old human, I mean, how many walks have I been on?
Yeah.
Ton.
And you really have to explain life from the beginning.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you'll probably have to explain like, oh, this is what is grass, and you'll have to like have an answer.
Yeah.
You have to like think of.
Uh-huh.
And then you want to introduce it in a way that like feels open and fruitful enough that it's not closing off any definition. Like, well, that is
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what is not grass. It could
Yeah.
be grass. Uh, but it's open to interpretation. Like, how do you, that would, yeah, that seems like it would make me anxious, but it's also exciting, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and he's going to change his mind about things too.
Yes, it is going to change. Yeah.
I learned what grass was, and now I think, if somebody says, well, can you like think about it in an abstract way? Can you think about it like, where is it coming from? Where's it going? And like, you can, I'm not an expert in grass, but I can suppose if I had to, I could talk about it for a little bit.
Yeah. That's important too, though. Yeah, it's not like everything you do is permanent. There's change in it.
Yeah.
That's comforting, I bet. And then-
Yeah. He has a chance for a redemption.
But yeah, if I mess up, you can change. But thank you for talking with us. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It was fun.